Hi there, this video is in response to DaVinci J15's video regarding silver is money and the paper Ponzi. Now, basically the first thing I'm going to do is show everyone some silver. I mean, I don't judge. Maybe there's people out there that have never seen silver. So, right from the beginning, this here is a 50-ounce bar of silver, pure silver. All right. This here, usually with pure silver, you're going to look at a bit of a markup over spot simply because it's pure and people want the pure stuff. Now, I also have a lot of what's called junk silver. So, for example, right here, you have a sterling silver chain, a sterling silver bracelet. Now, these are both 92.5% pure. These would be, under the junk silver category. Now over here, I have sterling silver spoon and a couple of forks. Now, I mean, hey, it's precious metals, right? I mean, you get it wherever you can, And then finally, we have a version of a junk silver coin. This here is 1967 Canadian silver dollar, and this here is 80% pure, which gives it about 0.6 ounces of silver. Now, I basically agree with the same points as DaVinci J15 in regard that, I feel that the whole financial system it's a scam. It is in fact a Ponzi scam, like he says. Now, the thing is, this stuff here, right? We work our whole lives for this. I mean, just this paper money here. But really, has anyone really given it any thought? Like, why does this stuff really have any value? We work our whole lives for it. What value does it have? Now, I actually crunched some numbers and I looked it up, and you'll find that approximately 96% of the money supply is actually digital money. Basically, it's not in physical form. Only actually 4% of the money supply is in physical form, such as paper notes and coins. That's only 4%. So, right there you have a huge inconsistency in the fact that how do you pay off 96% of debt if physical money that you use to pay it off only represents 4%? Like the 96% it's basically is debt. Most of money is debt. Basically, that 96% is in the form of debt, which is it can consist of mortgages, loans, even bank interest. And that's a huge scheme and scam right there, is the fact that how could you pay off all this debt when there's mathematically not enough physical money to pay it off. Only 4% of the money supply is in physical form. So it's just not mathematically possible to ever pay off all these so-called digital debts, all these mortgages and loans and interest, because like, for example, when a bank charges you interest, it's not like there's physical money that's made somewhere else that represents this interest that just was given birth into the money supply. There isn't. So if all of a sudden you owe the bank interest, it's like, where does the money come from to pay off that interest? That physical money to pay it off was never made. And like, it goes even deeper than that. It's not just that example I gave you right there. It's also money itself really has no value. Now, we used to have actual money, we'll put that in quotes, money. Now we just have, what's called credit, money used to be real. It used to be gold, it used to be silver, it used to be even copper, and then it, gradually morphed into this fiat system, which is basically money backed by nothing, and then now it's morphing into what is simply just credit. Money isn't even, it's slow, eventually won't even be physical anymore. It's bad enough you have this here that isn't worth anything, but now we have credit, which you can't even hold it in your hand. It's non-existent. It's ghost money. It's not real, you know. And the problem with credit is the fact that, it's infinite, it goes on forever. I mean, the amount of money that can be created in the form of credit, is only bound by, how many people want to borrow. I mean, as long as people keep borrowing, the money supply will just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And if most of it is in the form of, digital debts, how do you pay it off? If only 4% of the money supply is physical form, you can't pay it off. There's not enough physical money to do that, Another thing that people must understand also is basically inflation. If you don't understand inflation, you're not going to understand this whole monetary scam in general. Basically, if you were to ask most people what is inflation, they would tell you inflation is a rise in prices, which is actually not true at all. Inflation is actually an increase, the true definition is an increase in the money supply. So inflation is not prices going up. Prices going up is in fact the end result of inflation, which is an increase in the money supply. And now, everyone blames the government. Every time we have inflation, everyone says, oh, it's the government's fault. They're printing all this money. Now, yes, that is true to a certain point, but remember, only 4% of the money supply is actually physical money. A lot of that money out there is in the form, again, of, these big, huge mortgages and interest on interest on interest, which is not physical at all. Most of it is not physical. That's the problem. That's why, I agree with precious metals, because what gives precious metals value is the fact that, you can't print it. Government can't print it. There's only an X amount of silver and gold and so on planet Earth, and that's what gives it value. Is, once you mine it all, that's it. There's only enough. There's only so much to go around for everyone on planet Earth, right? So that's what gives it value. It simply has a fixed rarity, And another thing as well. Is the fact that I just lost my train of thought here. The fact that silver also and gold, unlike again this stuff here, silver and gold actually has a usage. You could take silver and gold. You can make pretty coins or jewelry or whatever you want to do. But there's actually usage that you can get out of it. I mean, silver is one of the best conductors of electricity with metals. Now, nowadays, of course, we use mainly copper, but that's mainly because copper is cheaper than silver. But I mean, it has a lot of usages. I mean, also the photography industry uses a huge chunk of silver. I mean, it's maybe 20 or 25%. Now, of course, that is declining due to digital photography. But, I mean, silver does have a lot of usages, This stuff here, I mean, when you think about it, it's just paper. I mean, really there is no usage, And people have to understand, if the government ever declares bankruptcy, this stuff here goes to zero, I mean, you got to kind of think of it like a stock in a company. Think of the leader of your country, wherever you are in the world. The prime minister, president, king, whoever. Think of them like the CEO of the company, or your country, right? And then think of all the fiat currencies are almost like stocks or shares in this company, right? Now in real life, if a company goes belly up and goes bankrupt, right? The shares go to zero. They're not worth anything. And the same thing with this. If governments ever declared bankruptcy, this stuff here would go to zero. This has no value, and when it goes to zero, there's also no other usage, Silver and gold will always have a usage. There's always going to be a usage. This stuff here maybe you could, throw it in your fireplace and use it to keep your home warm. But really, when you think about it, there's no usage with this stuff here, Now, another thing as well, another good example that I have, this stuff here, again back to my 80% 1967 Canadian coin. Now, a good example here is again with why silver is money, is silver is the ultimate form of a store of value. This stuff here is not a store of value whatsoever. Because, I mean, seriously, put your money into this and watch over the years. Inflation will just erode away the value of your money. It will just erode the value away, Let's say you have two people, guy A and guy B. Now, in Canada, the last year that we had silver dollars was 1967, which is this year, 1967. Now, let's say back in 1967, you have guy A and guy B. Now,